This English poem entitled The Boy Who Gave Up His Meal, written today, the 12th November 2021, is based on the miracle of Jesus feeding the 5,000 from 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That was the meal of a small boy. This shows that when we submit to God what we have, He can multiply it to the benefit of a multitude. My mother loved me so much, and she took care of all my needs. She stitched all my clothes and never let me go hungry. We lived in a village near the Sea of Galilee. My father used to go fishing in the sea. He used to bring home some fish for our meals after selling the big ones in the market. Then one day, our neighbor said, "There is a man preaching on the shore of the Sea of Galilee." He said, "The man is famous and healed a lot of people." Our neighbor said he was going to listen to this man. I grew curious and wanted to go along. I wanted to see how this man healed the sick. I was doubtful if my mother would let me go, but agreed to send me along with the neighbor. So my mother quickly packed a meal for me. There were 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, sufficient for a boy in his early teens. And we set out on our journey towards the sea. It was more than an hour's walk to the place. From a little afar, we saw the crowd gathered. They were all gathered on a mountain side, and we drew closer to have a better view. As we drew closer, we saw a man preaching. His face radiated with light and was so attractive. His words were so soothing, like balm on the wounds. He spoke with authority, clarity, and simplicity. People brought their sick to him to be healed. He touched them with compassion and healed them. The lame started walking, and the blind started to see. The leper, the paralytic, the demon possessed, all were healed. Then came evening, and people still thronged around him. His disciples grew tense and asked him to send them away, for it was a remote place and there was no food available. But the man had a different plan altogether and let them remain. The man again spoke with authority and told his disciples, "You feed them." Their jaws dropped and wondered how they could, for there was no food available anywhere near. The man asked his disciples to make the crowd sit on the grasses in groups of about 50. I stood wondering what he is going to do. I drew a little more closer to see what is happening. Then there was a prick on my conscience. I had my meal of 5 loaves and 2 fish with me. How would I eat my meal when others are starving? I secretly told one of the disciples about what I have. The disciple quickly told the man about this. I went and handed over my meal to the disciple. The man took it from the disciple in his hands. I watched intently to see what he is going to do. The man looked towards heaven and gave thanks, handed it back to the disciples and told them, Go, give it to all the people gathered here. And they gave. All the people ate and were satisfied. I was astonished to see that there was so much left over. There were 12 baskets full that was left over. After having fed 5,000 men alone gathered there, besides their women and children who also ate the meal. The whole thing left me flabbergasted. I asked my neighbor who this man was. He told me he is Jesus, the Messiah. He came to liberate mankind from their sins. I looked at Jesus intently. He was so calm. His face shone like that of the sun. He was full of love and compassion. He had such empathy radiating from him. I thought for a while I could have eaten my meal alone, but then all this multitude of people would starve. When I decided to give up my meal and handed it to Jesus, he multiplied it and fed 5,000 men, plus women and children, and they had plenty left over. And I didn't go hungry either. I too had plenty to eat. This indeed was a miracle, something I had never seen before. It was more than what I could comprehend. One thing I decided when I grew up, I want to be like Jesus. I want to be compassionate to the poor and the sick. I want to be kind to the downtrodden and marginalized. I stood there in awe and praised God for this day. I said a silent prayer. God, make me like Jesus. Give me the mind of Jesus. Give me the attitude of Jesus. I felt so warm in my heart and waited to reach home to tell my mom everything, for I am sure she would be so happy too. I thanked my neighbor for giving me this opportunity of witnessing such a wonderful event that changed my life. I am sure when you meet Jesus, you will be a different person, for the old is past and everything has become new.